It's so important that it doesn't matter if you have like paper qualification or not. I think the real experiences are the more important things when it comes to career.
Today, I'm introducing you to Ariel Sit, founder of MindBeauty, a marketer and business mentor with over 2 decades of experience helping entrepreneurs grow online businesses that actually work.
When I was 27, I was already an art director. I didn't like my life at all back then. So I tried starting a business and then I failed because I didn't have any knowledge at all.
Why I invited Ariel to join the Low to Grow podcast is because of the depth and spiritual awakening behind her work. Ariel comes from a long lineage of healers, and in fact, her late grandfather was a psychic and meditation teacher. In her own way, Ariel is carrying that family legacy into the modern day, guiding women back to themselves. Her journey certainly hasn't been linear. After burnout in her early career, Ariel made the bold decision to walk away from a 6-figure corporate career and to step into deep healing, self-discovery, and spiritual awakening.
It was one of the biggest career change in my life and then one of the best moments in my life.
At the heart of everything that Ariel teaches is this belief that reinvention is possible at any stage of life. And the moment you stop shrinking yourself is the moment when everything begins to change.
If I wanted to change my life, I have to do something different. Because if nothing changes, right? Because I was a very ambitious person, and then that setback really made me feel like I was a failure. We were not taught how to be resilient even. We were not taught emotional intelligence. We were not taught to believe in yourself or trust the future.
Ariel has kindly created a really special giveaway just for listeners of the Low to Grow podcast. You can access this under her episode at lowtogrow.com. So be sure to check that out after you listen.
In a way, if you change the question, you actually change the outcome of how people think. I think it's really important, and it is why I like.
Quick note before we start. If you have enjoyed this podcast and want to support our incredible guests, please follow Low to Grow podcast on Instagram and TikTok. Welcome to Low to Grow, the podcast transforming life's toughest moments into opportunity for growth. I'm Annie, a Forbes Under 30 technology founder whose entrepreneurship journey ran parallel to a mental health awakening. In every episode, I sit down with inspiring individuals and delve into how they managed to turn their personal or professional challenges into opportunities for growth. If you're facing uncertainty in your life, feeling down, or simply need a kick of inspiration to keep moving forward, this is your space for the honest and uplifting conversations that you will want to hear. Hit follow so you never miss an episode, and let's dive in. Ariel, it's a pleasure to have you on the Low to Grow podcast. Who do you want to be listening to our conversation today?
I think it would be very beneficial for women in their 20s, 30s, or 40s who are probably facing like a transition period of their life or in their career, and they are feeling stuck at the moment. They don't know what to do at the moment, like whether or not they should change career or, step back from the career for a while and then, get clear of what kind of direction they want in their life. So basically, it's people who are in a cross junction in their life, especially in a career.
Thank you, Ariel. And why is that important to you personally?
Because I've been through this kind of a cross junction twice in my life. Like, it's a very low points, like 2 low points in my life. Once happened in my 20s and then once happened in my 30s. And then from these 2 low points, I found a way to stand up again because I was like going through very, very tough moments back then. I really, really wish that more women listen to some of the stories I have to share to help them overcome their struggles so that they have more like methods and ways that can help them overcome like similar journeys too.
Looking forward to diving into that with you as well. Ariel, where did your own story start?
Right, let me think. So I want to share about the first low point of my life, if you don't mind. I started my career, if I were to start with my career, I was a web designer in the beginning. So I studied really hard, and then before I became a web designer, I want to become a singer. Can you believe it? It's a very interesting journey. I even like joined a lot of competition back then and won. So I know that this is the path that I want to go into. But unfortunately, my parents couldn't afford to send me to music school. So I took graphic design and web design instead. And then I graduated and then I started working for a couple of years. It was going well, but I was exhausted. And then until 27 years old, I was looking at a senior at that time. She was one of the like most successful art director back then that I worked with. And then I looked at her life and then I thought she was like never like happy. I didn't see her like showing expression of joy at work. Like it was always very stressed out. Because back then in Malaysia, the advertising industry, people wore overwork as a badge of honor, which is really unhealthy. And I was working at least 10 to 12 hours every day. And then I was exhausted as well. And then I looked at her life. She was married, she didn't have any children, but then she looked exhausted all the time. So I thought maybe this is not the way I want to go into. Like in the future, like maybe 3 or 5 years, I don't want to become someone like her, still exhausted, even though on paper it may look really, really well. You have a successful career. So, and then I wanted to take a leap of faith, like to try something else because like the salary back then wasn't good, wasn't lucrative, even though when I was 27, I was already an art director, got promoted, and then I didn't like my life at all back then. So I tried starting a business and then I failed because I didn't have any knowledge at all. I was just listening to, how other people did it. And then I saved up some money, but I failed because I didn't have the resources, like especially knowledge in how to handle a business, how to handle sales. I didn't have any sales experience. I was really upset and sad back then. I was terrified because I owed the bank money. And for a couple of months, I went back to my parents' place and stayed with them. And then I couldn't function for a couple of months.
What business did you try to start?
It was selling a house perfume. It's originally from France, very luxury kind of product. But then, yeah, I just couldn't see myself doing it because I just didn't know that selling a physical product requires so much of my time and energy. And then I didn't know how to handle clients. So, yeah, I didn't have all those knowledge at all. I took a few months to really reflect on my life and then also did a lot of unhealthy stuff like watching drama series just to get over the feeling of um, like fear of what's gonna come next because I was a very ambitious person and then that setback really made me feel like I was a failure. But inside me, I was also reading a lot like self-improvement books because I know that the only way to get out of that rut was to change. I gave myself a keyword I still remember very vividly. Like if I wanted to change my life, I have to do something different. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes, right? I started to apply for jobs that were like not my expertise at all, but it's slightly similar in my industry. So I graduated from communication art design school. So communication was something that I can go into. So I started applying for like client facing role in the advertising industry as well. And then I slowly learned how to manage clients, everything about client management, sales. And even though that time, I think I took maybe 2 to 3 years to get back up on track again financially. And that was 29 years old, that 2 years in. So it's okay. When I was 30 years old, I got a really, really huge opportunity. And because of those uncomfortable jobs that I took after my failure, the business failure, I learned so much that even though on paper I wasn't, I didn't have a degree in sales for business management or marketing and so on and so forth. But one of the top Malaysia's entertainment media company, they reached out to me. They were hiring for sales manager and managing like world class brands like Citibank, Tax, Air Asia. I was like, okay, this is very interesting. I didn't have any experience, but I went for it anyway. I applied and then went for the interview and I got in. I was in this job for like 5 years. It was one of the biggest career change in my life and then one of the best moments in my life also happened there. It's Astro, so it's like the Netflix of Malaysia. It's one of the top entertainment media here in Malaysia. It's a huge company. They have TV divisions, they have radio division, and then they have a magazine, they have digital. It's like a very, very huge conglomerate. And then I was in radio division and also the digital division. I wanted to share why they hired me in the first place. So they said that one of the reasons was that because my background, even though I was in communication design, but they saw that I had experiences in sales in two of the jobs that I had after my business failure because of the experiences that I showed that, I didn't mind doing, things that are outside of my expertise and then learning from it. So it goes to show that it's so important that it doesn't matter if you have like paper qualification or not. I think the real experiences are the more important things when it comes to career because it happens so many times in my life. I'm going to share again later on, like there are a couple of milestones as well. It's just show that it can happen to a lot of people. If someone are listening to this and then you're thinking that, oh, I don't have this qualification, how can I change my career that easy? I would say that during the transition, probably it's hard. You may think that it's impossible, but when it happens, when you kind of like, okay, I'm going to transition to this career path, what do I need to have the skills? What do I need to have? Like, not the paper, not the degree. What exactly do I need to learn the knowledge? When you learn that and then you apply for jobs that you may think that you're not qualified for, it may surprise you because like nowadays it's very different. So that was the reason that they told me. And then I went on and worked with them for 3 years first. And then they created a new division, a digital division. They needed someone to lead a sales department. Can you imagine that from a person who had no sales experience at all, no marketing experience, no like had even had a business failure before, to being offered a promotion to handle the sales of a whole digital division. It was such an amazing feeling that I was really grateful for. That moment I thought to myself, I was so lucky that I didn't give up. And then I believed in myself that, if I wanted to do something different in my life, I just learn on my own, even if I don't have the qualification on paper. The fourth year was the first year that I started managing the whole digital division. I was working alongside with the COO of that new division. Both of us were handling over 100 clients at the same time. It was very, very hectic because it just functioned like a startup back then.
How big was the core team of that new division?
So at first, for first 6 months, it was just me and COO and the CTO. So three of us for maybe like 3 months. And then 6 months, we had like maybe 10 people. And then after a year, maybe 20 people in that small team.
Wow. So you were really building up a new division from the very beginning and growing it in numbers and also responsibilities as well.
Yeah. And then for the first 6 months, I didn't have enough sleep. I was just sleeping 5 hours a day every day for 6 months because I had to like train the new people that coming in, the new colleagues. I was traveling the whole Malaysia with my COO to train all the colleagues of the new products because it's all new digital products back then. So it's very hectic, but it was very rewarding as well because I got to see myself I grow so much from not having a sales background, no knowledge at all in how to manage a business. So it was as if I was giving, I was given an opportunity to run my own business in a way. But of course, it's not my business, but it felt like that way.
Could you walk me through those few years from when your first business failed to when you were offered this amazing opportunity? What were the kind of like middle steps that you took to get you there?
The middle step was that I started applying for sales role, like from very small companies. Back then, I was just thinking if one company was to trust me to help them, that was my stepping stone. That will be my stepping stone because I was willing to learn. I was willing to start from zero again and just learn from zero. And that took me maybe 2 to 3 years until I got this big opportunities.
I wanted to dive a bit into that middle step because I feel like that's when a lot of people have almost probability of giving up. And I was really curious to see what happened to you and also what your mindset was that you didn't give up and you actually persevered until you were noticed and given that opportunity.
I can share more on that because I understand where you're coming from too. It was very challenging starting from zero again. The very important thing that I told myself was to believe in myself because I know that all I had was the belief that I could stand up again from the failure as long as I'm alive. I
Hmm.
have, you know, all the knowledge in the world for me to learn. The first year was very tough because, the salary wise, it was like starting from like a junior salary level again because it's a very different industry. I didn't mind. I was just like adjust my spending, and the whole mindset was to be okay. I can be frugal. I can go through hardships. The whole thing about it is the mentality, how you look at it. Because if you believe in yourself strong enough, the things will get better if you try, if you move, if you just take action to change your current situation. No matter how small the step is, you just take it like one step at a time. Things will get better because things don't get better overnight. That was the first year what I realized. So it's like after the first job, I learned something new, and then I changed to another, also a small company, also a marketing role. So I learned a little bit different skills from before, like sales and marketing. And that was, yeah. And then after that small marketing role, that was the time that I got offered this opportunity.
Wow. And how were they able to find you? Were you in the right networks or was it a mentor
Yes,
maybe that you had who put your name forward?
I think that's one very important piece as well. Thank you for this question because I think that putting yourself out there is equally as important because I realized because I journal a lot. I journal the important points of how I actually got those opportunities is actually by word of mouth, by people knowing me. Like see more people, talk to more people. Even that time, you may not think that this person would be able to help me, but like few years down the road, there may be a very relevant opportunities that reach that person. And then because of that small conversation you had with that person and that person remembers you, that's what it takes. So I remember it was a good friend of mine. He was already in the music industry, entertainment industry. He was a singer back then. And then we kept in touch, not really close, but then he remembered that I was suffering in my career. And then he told me that, hey, why not you try this company? They're hiring, even though probably on paper you're not 100% qualified, but who knows? I go and have a go. And then I got hired. Yeah. Yeah. So networking is equally as important as trying hard yourself, jobs yourself. So I think it's one of the most rewarding thing. Even though if you don't get any opportunities, at first, you may have good friendships.
That's so true. And also, it's long term relationship building. And I'm sure that there were many opportunities afterwards where you also remembered other people in your network when suitable opportunities came up for them. Ariel, I'm really curious because I think this is an area where you excel at specifically, which I think our audience would find interesting as well. So, for example, if you see like a job spec
Mm,
And it's a really interesting job, but you personally feel that it's a bit out of your comfort zone.
mm.
Don't match, maybe you only match 70% or 60% of the requirements. How would you position yourself when you're applying for that job or when you're writing your new CV for that job?
Yeah. So first of all, I would see what that job actually requires. For example, if they say that on paper, oh, you need to have this qualification in this
Mhm.
subject and this subject, and then you have to have like 2 to 3 years experiences in this and that. I think the most important thing is to find out whether you have transferable skills in yourself first. So if let's say, what kind of example can I take? Say if hiring for a manager role, right? And then this person, you're thinking, oh, I'm not a manager yet, I'm a junior, but probably I have 3 years experience in the same industry. Like maybe my CV, it's like 70% match with that job description. I think very, very important is that if you have worked with clients before or in your own industry, in your current job, one of the most rewarding thing is you start to document good words from people that you worked with, like especially like successes, no matter how small you think at the moment, because essentially you're building your personal brand when you work, even if it's just a career, you're working for other people, you're not a business entity, but it doesn't matter. I think personal brand, it's so important for every one of us. Like, regardless you're a business owner or not, how people feel working with you. I think this is the human touch that lacks in a CV because most people don't talk about that. Like most people just think that CV is like a machine and you just load all your good things, good qualification, and skills, like universities you went to. But a lot of times when people are hiring, because I know I came from that side of as well, because when I was managing the small digital division that I mentioned earlier, I start to see that even though this person may be like 60 to 70% okay match on paper, but I would like to see how that person is when it comes to face to face. Is this person willing to learn? Is this person like a good person to work with? Is it comfortable to work with? Is this person willing to be collaborative instead of saying no to every challenge? Is the attitude as well.
Mhm.
And then CV wise, I would think that my sales skill, if you have sales skill, it's a very, very rewarding skill even when it comes to your CV. When you write about your CV, the summary is not to say, I've worked with this company for how many years, I've done this, and then this project, it's completed. I think the most important thing is to very clearly elaborate the results, the impact that you help bring from your work, no matter how small you think your work function is. Even for let's just say a graphic designer, maybe you think that I just make things pretty, right? Which is not essentially because when you say, let's take web designer as an example. Web design is basically you design the layout, the structure of a website, and then you organize the copywriting in a coherent way so that when people read it, people understand that what's the main point first, and then people get sold to the idea of your website, right? So it's very important. That means your design is directly impacting the revenue of the company. Your work directly impacted maybe like in 3 months, the company's revenue grew from this A to Z. So you can put that kind of statement because when people want to hire you, they're looking for, yes, qualification on paper is one thing, but they also want to see how you can elaborate like your impact in the business as well. Because everyone, I believe that everyone has their own role in a company that contributes to the revenue, even though it may not seem like you're not in finance, but in a way you are still helping to contribute the revenue side of the company.
It's really nice how you framed the approach that you would have taken and maybe like you have taken yourself. And I actually think this also reflects how you would have been as a manager as well, because it's placing the same amount of emphasis on someone's attitude
Mm,
and how they would be as a team member to work with and how they're actually able to deliver results rather than just looking at on paper qualifications and more like knowledge based things. So I think that's very reflective of the kind of person that you are as well, both as
Yeah,
an employee and also as someone who manages people. Thank you very much for sharing that. Ariel, I think earlier you hinted about something that happened maybe 4 or 5 years into this role at this company. That sounds like it was a dream for you to work in. So what happened then?
what happened after 5 years? So it felt like I had my dream job already. It was the peak of my career. I thought it was until the fifth year, I started to feel burnt out because I didn't stop working, to be honest. When I look back in my 30s, like 34, 35 years old. So when I looked back, thought to myself, oh my God, I think I didn't really rest for 5 years. The rest back then was just traveling after traveling. It was an escape, not exactly rest. It was escape to not feel the stress. I truly believe that the stress stays in your body until you properly regulate it through a very proper way, which I will share as well. In that year, I still remember it was 2015. Oh my God, it's 11 years ago. They promoted me the second time, but I was already exhausted. I turned them down. Everyone was so shocked. Like, oh my God, what happened to you? Do you just want to throw your career away?
What role would they have promoted you into?
Senior manager of the team, just next to the COO. I was quite happy with the salary and everything. From the outside, people thought that I had the best time of my life because I was traveling either for work or just for fun. Even for work, it looked really glamorous from the outside because my job was to manage the client's advertising campaign, for example, Mercedes. So they hired me to manage their whole campaign for like 1 to 3 months. And then I had to travel to every state with the team. So it was exhausting because I was always traveling. But from the outside, people thought I was having fun, but it was for work. I just couldn't think clearly for the last 3 months of my tenancy there. So I quit, and I was really really lost. I was very scared as well because I thought to myself, I was ready to do something else. I didn't even know like what kind of work would be available for me that would align with my mindset back then because I was looking for something that is less stressful, but something about personal growth. But I didn't know what it was. Well, so I took a few months off. It's like a sabbatical leave to just travel really slowly and then learning meditation. That was the first time I discovered meditation. At first, I wanted to use meditation as a way to train my brain to make better decisions. I was focusing on the functional side of things. I was hoping that it could help me get even better in my career. But I think that was not the right way to look at meditation. Of course, it's a very good thing to use meditation to improve your brain function because when your mind is clear, you make better decisions. But from the other side of it, I think I needed that because I stored so much stress in my body the first time I joined a silent retreat. It was like a 1 day discovery kind of meditation. They teach you different types of meditation, standing, like the walking meditation, even food meditation. I just cried so much for no reason.
Mm.
And I realized that it was the stress that stored in my body for so long that it got released during those meditation sessions. So it was so powerful to me that I I thought to myself, meditation is nothing to do with like religion, even though I'm a Buddhist, but it has no like teaching or correlation with Buddhism at all. It's just like very objective way of meditation.
So I also only discovered yoga, meditation, and the more slower forms of exercise after a few years of working. And I would almost say meditation is kind of like a form of exercise. It's like a muscle that you have to retrain. And the more that you do it, the more beneficial effects that it has for your body and also your mindset.
Yes. So I discovered that, and then although it was just one day, it was enough for me to realize that, wow, imagine if I do this every day, what would happen to me? Like I get to release at first, like that's the first step to release all the stress that was stored in my body. I didn't even know how to regulate. And then also I got a lot of clarity out of those sessions. There are only like maybe at most 10 sessions in 2 days. Oh yeah, I missed this really important point as well. After I quit that job and then I went on a couple of months to travel to rest, and then I encountered this meditation retreat. And I also broke up with my ex-boyfriend, which back then our relationship was okay, there was no problem. So it felt like everything fell apart. So it contributed to the fear of, oh my gosh, like what's happening to me right now? It felt like everything happened at the same time. So first was that I was burnt out. I didn't know what to do next. And I was traveling. Basically, I was really lost. But luckily I had a bit of money saved up back then because after a few years of working and then meditation retreat, and then I broke up with my ex-boyfriend back then. So it was a very huge thing for me because I thought it was the only good thing in my life back then. And at first, I didn't know why it had to happen to me. I blamed myself for probably not being a good enough girlfriend, or probably there's something that I didn't do enough in the relationship. I started blaming myself until I started meditating, and then I got a lot of clarity on, oh, actually, it was an alignment in a relationship. It's the same thing like what happened to my job. So when there's an alignment that you feel in you and your external world, regardless of what it is, your career, your relationship, your friendship, something has to break so that it can build again after. So it has to happen, even though it was very uncomfortable. At that time, I was so hopeless. I thought to myself, "Oh my god, like I didn't do anything wrong," but it still didn't work.
How did your friends and family react to it when you were going through the breakup and also quitting your
They were
job?
shocked because I was always in control of my life. It's like the business failure moment, of course. I always looked like someone very collected, always knew what to do. Like I always solved my own problems. I never asked for help. And they saw me. I was like, just stayed in my room for 2 weeks after the breakup and didn't even want to eat, didn't want to talk to anyone, was crying for 2 weeks. Yeah, they was shocked. And then after that, I vividly remember what happened after 2 weeks. I said, enough is enough. Okay. I spent 2 weeks basically releasing and releasing. I think it's important as well for you to cry, to let it out. And I put myself together again and reflect again. It's journaling. And then I sign up for a course, which is the next chapter I want to talk about. It's a course from MindBeauty. That's the next company I joined after that. So what happened was that, remember I mentioned I went to the meditation retreat. So that was the
Was that
first,
in Malaysia?
yeah, it's in Malaysia. And Mind Valley, the main office back then was in Malaysia as well. Their HQ was in Malaysia. Now is in Estonia. So what happened was that it just sparked a very big curiosity in me. So I started looking, like Googling more about meditation, and probably because of the keywords, I saw an article from Inc. magazine. It says top most beautiful offices in the world, right? So I clicked on it and saw Mind Valley was the first office. What's it? So interesting. Okay, very, very beautiful office out of the 10 offices in article. And then I saw, oh my God, he's in Malaysia. How come I never heard of this? Because they never advertised in Malaysia back then. Their main target audience was the US. So yeah, I got really curious and I signed up for a course. And then that course was basically tells you, to gain a lot of clarity in your life. It's meditation plus a lot of like life design work. So I went through it and then I got really clear out of that course. And then I started to become more curious. And then I researched what that company is all about. And then are they even hiring something that I could, do? No, they didn't. So there's no role for me. Like nothing was a match, but I applied for it anyway. That's the second time that I want to stress on, like taking the opportunity, even though you think that you're not qualified. So I applied for it. Um,
What role did you apply for at
Yes.
MindBeauty?
So they're looking for media buyer, advertising. Yeah. So I was not an expertise in media buying. Although I have a little bit of background in advertising, and I also had a lot of experiences in managing clients, closing, big business deals. I got interviewed by four people, and then the last person, it was the partnerships team. So partnerships team, because the essential job function is to manage clients as well, their partners. Transferable skill from my side that I'm able to do it. So they put me in that division. So that's the beginning of it. I was so lucky. After I think 3 months in the partnerships team, they dissolved the team and then they put me in the course development team.
Okay,
Yeah, so it's
interesting.
very interesting. So the course development team, back then it was called the author relations team because they need someone to work with the authors directly who can manage client relations and also oversee the online course development processes. I was really, really fortunate to go into that team and work directly with all the authors in personal growth and spirituality and learn directly from them. All kinds of meditation teachers, spiritual teachers, energy healers. I felt like another dream came true as well. It was so bizarre because I was just thinking I wanted to go into personal growth kind of career. And somehow I got into it because I just believed myself enough to apply. And that's how it began. Like I didn't even think that I would be qualified.
That's such an inspiring story, and also another example of how, well, I think it completely validates what you were saying earlier about, you don't need to fit everything in a role description, but as
Yeah.
long as you can position and also be self-aware enough of what your transferable skills are and show the right attitude, then the right positions will find their way to you almost.
Yeah. So, of course, I tried my best during the interview sessions, try my best to explain to them, share with them all my transferable skills and experiences. The vivid thing that I remember about interview was that before I applied for a job there, I was also approached by Google. People also thought that, wow, it's the biggest opportunity of your life. And then I actually turned it down after a couple of interviews.
What role would it have been at Google?
So it was a really, really good role. They were expanding. Do you know this app called Waze? It's like a
Ways, yes.
yeah,
It's a car hiring?
yeah, like a traffic navigation app for
Yes. Yep, yep.
driver.
Yes. It's really big in Europe.
Yeah, so it was acquired by Google. I don't remember when. They only had one regional director or manager kind of role back then, one person handling the advertising media as well. It's also selling advertising media for the whole Southeast Asia. So they needed someone with existing client base, with sales experiences who can expand the sales beat, basically. I was really fortunate to be approached. It's interesting because the person who looked for this candidate was a person that went to the same school as I was in high school. We weren't friends, but I know that he's from my same school. That time of my life during the Google interview time, I thought I wanted that role, but after like four interviews, they almost hired me by then. And then I told them another job offer, which was from MindBeauty. And then I took it instead of Google. Everyone was shocked as well. My friends were like, "Are you crazy? Decline Google?" I said, I think maybe to people who don't know me, they might think that you are giving up a really, really good opportunity in your life by rejecting or by declining Google. But to me, I think that is a really aligned timing to let go of such a good opportunity because I think it wouldn't align with what I wanted back then. Because my then was I no longer want to sell something just for the sake of selling it. Because like media advertising space, I've done enough of that for 5 years. If I were to join Google again, yes, the company is amazing, of course, but the role would be the same. Wanted to do something that can actually help people's mental health. That's for MindBeauty. Yeah.
It's so beautiful to hear how you were able to stick to what your inner self was calling for in terms of finding this next company whose mission aligns with where you were at life at that point and also what you wanted to be able to bring. I think it's so interesting how you mentioned that one of the reasons why you said no to Google was because you didn't want to keep on selling just for the sake of selling.
Yeah.
Was that a realization that came to you over the course of the time when you were at Astro?
Think after Astro, I went through a few months of traveling. I did a lot of reflection, and then also after the meditation, the first encounter of my meditation retreat, and then I did a lot of deep self work to understand, like for the first time in my adulthood, to understand my childhood pattern, like what was the trauma that shaped my belief back then. It was a lot of limiting beliefs that I realized. And then I started to reprogram myself through meditation. I started to reteach myself, retrain myself to properly grow up again. I would say in a layman term, because we were not taught how to be resilient even. We were not taught emotional intelligence. We were not taught to believe in yourself or trust the future. I know a lot of friends in my circle, like very capable women, very smart, doubt themselves a lot. And I one of them as well. I doubt myself a lot. But then because of that period of my life, I learned so much about my limiting beliefs. And then I know that because those situations happened when I was younger, I didn't know better. I didn't know how to cope with it. Meditation just gave me so much clarity because there are a lot of tools to use how to think when hard things happen so that you can overcome your own mind. Because I believe that, I mean, at least to me, my biggest mountain is myself. Like, I'm my own obstacle. Time allow me to really, really slow down and look at my life in a big picture way because we were never taught to, slow down to reflect on your life. I think it was a bizarre thing that we were not taught how to set goals at school as well, or how to design your life, like what kind of life you want to live. Is it in the city? Is it in the suburb? And that would actually define what kind of career may be a good match for you. Because right now, doing it the other way around, we are asking what what do you want to become when you grow up, right? And then we never think of the lifestyle that comes with a career. Is it something that you think would be something you like for long term, for probably for the rest of your life, or at least for the first 10 or 20 years? So I think that contributes to a lot of burnout in a lot of people because we were not taught to think of it another way around, like to design your life first, to know what it takes to live this career for at least the first 10 years of your life. If you can imagine yourself living that kind of lifestyle that comes with a career, then probably that is a career for you. If you cannot, probably not, no matter how good that career may look like on paper.
No, that's so true. Do you think that it's changing for the students in Malaysia, for example, who are currently at secondary school or high school?
I don't think it's changing just yet because I recently, a pretty interesting story. I recently talked to a 10-year-old, and then he just told me he doesn't like school. He doesn't know why he goes to school. And it shocked me because it's like, it's saddening as well. A young kid doesn't know why he's going to school, besides going to see friends or learning knowledge. It shows that it's a very, very big gap that we should fill. Because education is so important to shape the mind and the whole future of the country, of the world, right? If we were not educated, that the objective of learning, the whole point of going to school, other than, get a good job, get a good pay out of the job, I think is something missing because they don't know the meaning of learning. And I also think that um, a lot of education system, they just don't teach important stuff like emotion intelligence, how to manage your personal finance.
You've hit upon a few points that it seems it's quite common no matter what country it is. I think in the UK and also in the US, there's also a lot of discussion and a desire for students, before they leave home to be taught about managing personal finances and also this higher value, especially in the age of AI, on relationship building and also emotional intelligence. And I
Yeah.
think it's just so interesting for me to hear about what your perspective is, given that you were kind of like born and raised and also studied and worked in Malaysia, which I think culturally is quite different to somewhere like the UK. So that's super interesting.
Yeah, it's still, I think that because if I were to say what we should teach kids nowadays, it would be one of the most important subjects would be emotional intelligence, to truly understand how to manage your emotion and also to understand what kind of life they want to build in the future, what kind of person they want to become, not just an occupation. Like I still remember when I was younger, the standard question would be, what do you want to be when you grow up? And then the options would be doctors, lawyers, policemen. I think that's it, or nurse. I think it's so outdated already that we still expect children to just answer, "Oh, I want to become this because it looks cool," right? Like from the uniform, of the pictures. But I think it's equally important to let them know what kind of meaningful life that occupation comes with. Like, do you like to become this person when you grow up? And then what does it mean to you when you live this career? How are you going to contribute to the society through this career, not just the monies? Because we were taught that get a good job to get good money. We were never really taught, okay, become this person so that you are able to help more people. In a way, if you change the question, you actually change the outcome of how people think. I think it's really important. And it is why I like journaling so much, because when you journal, you just tend to ask a lot of questions you were not asked before. So you to a very, very different answers, and it could change your life sometimes. Like a one small question could change your life.
For sure. I remember one of my previous podcast guests, he's a real estate investor from the US called Ari. He actually said that part of what makes people successful is actually whether or not they know what questions to ask. Because, if you're asking the wrong question to yourself or to your colleagues in work or in your personal life, then
Yeah.
you can waste so much time trying to figure out the wrong thing. But it's, how can you actually take a step back mentally and really assess if you're asking yourself or your team the right questions before taking action? That can save a lot of trouble and also just help to steer the ship in that sense.
Yes.
I'm really curious because when you were at MindValley and you were in direct contact with the content creation and with the amazing people who were really creating those courses,
Hmm.
it's a really rare opportunity to be in contact with so many people of that caliber. What was one thing that surprised you? Or maybe what was one surprising thing that you learned through working with them?
They're normal people. I would say that almost all of them have been through some kind of big challenges in their life, in their course of life. It is so common for us to look at someone who looks successful on the outside, like because social media is a highlight reel. You always see good things about that person, and you
Mhm.
may think that she is so successful. Everything in her life must be good, must be perfect. But it is so common that every author that I worked with, their pivoting point comes from a challenging point. It is so important to understand this because every one of them had been through really, really low point of their life, and then they found their calling from that low point. So it's as if the low point was the first step of their success. I look at failure as the first step. It's not a separate thing from success. It's just part of success. It's the first step of success. Because if you are able to look at the failure from a perspective that, wow, okay, this is something that doesn't work for me. What does it try to tell me? What is my calling out of this obstacle? Because I looked at all those people's profile because I had to study them, because working directly with them, producing course with them, that was part of my job to study their background. So that was the common thing I noticed. So every one of them had a very low point, and that low point, the topic of that low point, very much related to what they're doing right now. If they were suffering from probably self doubt, and then right now they're doing something about overcoming self doubt, and then they're really, really successful at it because they've been through it themselves and then they found them to overcome it themselves. That was one of the biggest observation. If I were to share more, it would be probably a long conversation.
I'm sure that there were many nuggets of gold that you were able to glean. Ariel, in your opinion, what is one thing that you believe will allow more people to have better mental health?
Journaling and meditation, and oh, it's more than one thing already. So self-awareness, to really understand yourself and to go deep into yourself to understand what you actually want in your life. Because the biggest question to ask yourself is that, what kind of life do you want? What is your dream life? And when I talk about dream life, I'm not talking about what kind of material things that you can have, but it's exactly what kind of life that you want to lead and how that life can also positively impact other people while you are living that life. To me, living a meaningful life is not just about doing everything yourself and then being happy in your own life circle, but also at the same time, while you're doing what you're doing best, what makes you happy, in that process, you are also positively impacting others.
That's a really beautiful note to end on as well. Ariel, it's been such a pleasure to have you on the Low to Grow podcast. Thank you for sharing all your expertise and also your experiences too.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening. You excited for the next episode? Follow Low to Grow podcast on Instagram and TikTok to keep in touch with new announcements.